Okay, so we're getting into the Halloween season, and I want to start this episode with one of the weirdest Halloween-related things, horror-related things that I found recently, and that is one of these guys. You guys see that on there? You know, this is an audio podcast, but this
is that an Addams Family scratcher?
An Addams Family lottery ticket. That's not that's not what this is. This is actually a winning Addams Family lottery ticket. I won a free ticket on this one. I won $10 on this one. I bought $20 worth of tickets. I'm still $8 in the hole, but you know what? It's the Addams Family, so I had to do it just because I'm tired of the same Day of the Dead scratchers they do every year. I wanted to see some new Halloween stuff. I believe there's been Munsters ones before, so the Addams Family, they're catching up. And I do want to say, original television Addams Family.
Nice.
It's not any of that comic license stuff. It's not Raul Julia. It's not any of that weird CGI stuff we've been seeing. It is the original with Zach's favorite Adam Gomez on it. And
I mean, I wouldn't complain if it was Raul Julia. I mean, that guy's
fantastic.
I
wouldn't either. I love those movies. And plus it got us probably one of the greatest pinball machines ever made. So yeah, I just wanted to share that because we got a little bit of a grab bag episode today. So I wanted to lead off with one of the weirdest things. Kris, sorry, California lottery. Sorry, pal. But Zach, they're available to you. Lottery?
You know, I think I might have to take you up on this, Casey, because I got a fortune recently. There were a couple of fortune cookies left out on the counter at work, and no one grabbed them. They'd been there for like a day or two. And my coworker took one, and I ended up taking the other. And it said, my luck is soon going to reach a high point. So I think I need to test that out.
Okay, $2, man. It can change your life. You can win up to 30 grand.
Is this like a 7-Eleven scratcher?
Yeah, go for it, dude.
I've never actually purchased a scratcher, I don't think. I don't know how that's possible, but I don't think I have.
Oh, yeah, just go into 7-Eleven and say, give me that Addams Family thing. Yeah.
We'll see what happens. I'll report back next episode.
Nice. Yeah, I'm $8 in the hole. Let's see how Zach does.
My house is haunted by the ghost of a barking dog.
Welcome to another miserable podcast, Horror Decomposed. My name is Zach. I'm joined by two of my favorite people in the world. The Criterion Kid, Kris Pistol. How's it going, Kris?
I have nothing funny to say. I'm genuinely moved.
Aww.
Penis.
Yes.
Wow, Casey, you stole your bit. And Professor Casey.
Hey, fuck you, Zach. Hi. Zach has a cool shirt on. You guys can't see it. Not a video podcast.
I got a story about this shirt. So I'm wearing a Return of the Living Dead shirt. I had to do a run for work today, and I had to like pick up equipment from this like film equipment rental place in Burbank. And I walk in there, and the guy at the reception desk was really nice, and he walked me over to the counter that I needed to go to, and he's like, you know, they filmed like Return of the Living Dead in this building, and I was like, what?
Oh shit!
Yeah, they like filmed part of like the. Some of the like I don't know what like a hallway scene like in part of the warehouse. It's totally been like completely remodeled since then, but they filmed part of Return of the Living Dead in that building.
There's only like 2 indoor scenes, so yeah, there's not much to choose from, right?
And I looked at it and I was like, I can kind of see that.
Interesting.
That was insane. So that was really cool.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, awesome. There was some hallway scene or with like a I don't know, say a gurney or like a. He gave me a specific thing and I can't remember, but yeah, that was a pretty wild coincidence, so that was cool.
Can I shoot on our topic a little bit, Zach? Can I get a little angry?
Sure.
Okay, so without giving too much away, a lot of other podcasts have already talked about one of the movies we're going to talk about today. You know what? We were going to be first, and we were going to do a really knock your socks off kind of thing because we saw this movie like a month ago, okay? But
we've been holding off.
We've been holding off because we had big plans, and now we're not holding off anymore because every other podcast is doing it, and we're going to look like the last ones. So we do have a new movie to talk about that Zach and Kris saw, like we said.
Yeah.
But our feature scare is something we all saw, and I'm assuming we all loved because I definitely did.
Mm-hmm.
And my gosh, you may have heard other people talk about it, but they're not as cool as us. Come on. You listen to us for our great discourse and our movie minds, and we have a lot to offer on this one because I feel like this movie was chiseled out of my own brain and memories and put onto the screen.
All right, let's get into it. This is our feature scare. Alright, so our feature scare today, as Casey has alluded to, which we have held off on talking to because we really wanted to devote a big segment to. That's why none of us picked it in our 12 Halloween movies you need to watch this year, but this absolutely would be on a list like that, as would its predecessor, and that is Out There Halloween Megatape, the spiritual sequel to WNUF Halloween Special.
I wouldn't even call it a spiritual sequel.
It's a sequel.
Call it direct sequel.
But I mean, he's kind of called it a spiritual sequel in his commentaries. So this is directed by Kris LaMartina. And how do you describe?
Nice.
How do you describe? How do you describe Out There Halloween Megatape and WNUF Halloween Special to someone that has not seen it before? I'm gonna let you guys tackle this.
I got it. So okay, they are fake tapes of television broadcasts that have something to do with Halloween. So the first one was a news show and an expose of a haunted house, and it was set in the 80s. This new one is set in the 90s, and it involves a very interesting Ricky Lake, Jenny Jones-like talk show and a sightings/encounters aliens episode.
Unsolved mysteries kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's directly encounters or sightings, like to the point where it's eerie how realistically they captured it.
Another show that he quotes as an influence for it is a show called Mysteries from Beyond the Dimension, which I guess is pretty obscure.
It's
Beyond the Dominion. I'm sorry, Mysteries from Beyond the Dominion.
It's actually called Mysteries from Beyond the Other Dominion, and
the Other Dominion,
yeah, and that was Dr. David Rule, and was one of the greatest shows I've ever seen in my life. That's early Sci-Fi Channel shit, like sci-fi with SCI-FI. None of that Y shit. And let me tell you, I would wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays to watch Mysteries from Beyond the Other Dominion. Great show. Theme song was a fucking banger too. I don't know if you could see it on YouTube or not. I
gotta look this up.
Some of it.
I gotta look this up. If I can find the theme song, I will insert it here.
Yeah, it's some computer music that, oh god, I love it. It's in my head now. I don't feel like he did kind of capture it, but the thing is, Sightings and Encounters stole a lot from it. Even though they're kind of doing the same thing that Unsolved Mysteries did, there's a vibe to Mysteries from Beyond the Other Dominion that I feel like they needed a really weird dude in front of a green screen as the host to capture, and they didn't go that way. Because it would have been too much like the news broadcast from the first one, probably.
Yeah, man. You know, we did like a whole review of WNUF Halloween Special in our first Halloween Special episode, so you can check that out. We did. Yeah,
and we all loved that movie. And
yeah,
dude,
it's a staple now. I mean,
if you want a sequel that's more of the same, this is it, but like in a good way, you know? And plus, you get to make fun of the 90s now instead of the 80s. It's always fun.
Kris, how would you describe these movies and to like someone who has never seen them before? How would you pitch them to somebody?
Well, if you're like someone who definitely craves nostalgic tidbits from your childhood, but you don't actually have a stack of recordings of tapes from your childhood that you recorded off TV because you were a foolish child who somehow lost all your tapes when you got older. This is like rediscovering one and putting it back into your VCR. Even though I don't have this movie on VHS, I wish I did. Yeah, it's like unearthing a treasure trove, but it's also because it's so specifically a small town, like local channel that it can kind of almost feel like its own thing. Like there's nothing really to, truly sort of land it in the real world. So it's almost like this like hidden secret thing.
Absolutely.
Sorry, guys. I really have a great image for you, and it's not. I fucked up the name, Kris. It's Dr. Franklin Rule. But here's a picture. If you guys were to click on that in our chat, this is the dude. And I wish they captured more of this vibe a little bit. But it would have looked more 80s than 90s if they did.
God, he's sort of like he's like a mixture of like R.L. Stine and like Jeff Goldblum or something.
I feel like he looks like if you got Howard Stern and he was becoming the Fly slowly.
He looks
But
like
this
your
guy,
physics teacher.
Yeah.
mean, that's kind of. I'm pretty sure that's what his doctorate's
But
in.
he's
From
got some
1992.
he's got some sick dinosaurs on his desk.
He does. He was a great man. We lost him fairly recently, I believe.
Oh, no.
Question for you guys though. Okay, so he died in 2015. That is not recent at all. So I don't know about you guys. I know like you guys weren't around for the 80s to see how accurate the first one was.
Mm-hmm.
But you're definitely around for the 90s. And I don't know about you guys, but this actually felt like I was it felt like I was finishing school on a Friday night and watching whatever talk show was on, waiting for sightings or encounters to come on.
Oh, 100%. The ads in this movie are so like pinpoint accurate.
Yeah.
It's scary.
It really is. Like, yeah, this is more sort of my time period wheelhouse too, because like I was a kid in the 90s, so I'm more familiar with that than the 80s. Although we did have a lot of tapes that were recorded from the 80s, so I still feel like I, still like know that wheelhouse, but
Nice.
definitely like much more familiar with this type of thing. And there's one like kind of funny thing that's like more realistic, but also kind of tedious than the first one is that there are definitely like repeat commercials to sell the thing being real, because you would see repeat commercials on a television broadcast. This has no repeat commercials. This is just like an hour and a half practically. Like, I mean, like I don't know what the actual time running of the shows are, but I'm guessing that the total amount of commercials would be like probably about 45 minutes, so like half of the total runtime. So 45 minutes of straight commercials, and they're pretty short. Like most of them don't last like 1 minute. So that's like 40, probably nearly 45 commercials that this guy just like created out of his brain.
Piecing together found footage, and there's a lot more new footage in this.
It's really interesting if you listen to the director's commentary, just the painstaking process he went through. He talks about just the hours he spent just finding stock footage that he wanted to use for this and craft commercials around. A lot of these, most of them are filmed like in his basement in front of a green screen, getting his friends, putting them in different costumes, things like that. And he also just talks about like, the graphics putting together, and you have to think about like for like there's a ad for carpet, like Phil's Carpet Warehouse, which is one of my favorite running gags in this movie. And there's like a UFO in one of them, and he has to think about, okay, realistically, how good would this look for this guy who owns this warehouse company? Like, and like you have to think about all those that minutia, and there's so much that goes into it, and so many details, and so many fake titles of things, and every commercial here has a reference to either like a friend or a colleague or a movie, something from pop culture. It's so like detailed in that way. It's really impressive.
I couldn't source any of the footage just by watching the movie like I could in the last one. But it's also because I'm a weirdo and watch makeup instructional videos on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
So that's where he got all the footage for the makeup commercial that was in there. But Yeah, it's a faithful recreation, and I feel like he has this down to both an art and a science, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Even things like the lighting on the sighting/encounters like show, the overuse of green lighting, like it's a fucking full moon movie that also does the same thing. I just really appreciated the overall vibe of it.
Mhm.
There's some debate amongst people if they felt like it should have been a continuation or not. I think that it was great the way it was, and I wouldn't have changed anything.
It's a continuation, just with different characters. It's not, the characters that were leading the way, like Frank Stewart in WNUF Halloween Special. Not to spoil anything that happens, but his kind of situation was left up in the air, more or less. And so continuing with him would have been kind of difficult.
And if you pay attention, you kind of figure out what happened.
The actor's in this, right?
He's in it in like flashbacks and things like that were filmed previously. And the commentary, Kris wanted to get him for some new stuff, but he was unable to, just due to they filmed this during the pandemic.
Right. Yeah. I thought I saw that actor in a part.
Yeah.
And I thought, is that Frank Stewart? Is that like, did he survive? And this is what happened?
Because Frank Stewart is Frank Stewart in the other movie that kind of got released between this, right?
He's in What Happens Next Will Scare You. He's not Frank Stewart. He's like a janitor, but he's great. I highly recommend that. It's a really fun movie.
I still have not seen that one.
It's
if
great.
He had it on his table at the con, I would have bought it. Just saying.
I can bring it tomorrow if you want to watch it.
Yeah, I'll check it out. I'll check it out.
Anyway, no, this was man, it's really, I still get back to like, how do you pitch this to someone who hasn't seen it before? And WNUF Halloween Special, I think Casey and Kris really got it. It's putting in like a tape that you like, if you grew up in the 80s or 90s and you recorded things on VHS tape, like, and this is like during October, you record some of your favorite Halloween specials, and you get a news broadcast in there. It's like putting that on in the middle of the night, and you're seeing all these vintage ads. And then WNUF tells a story of this local news station that is investigating this haunted house, and it's being reporter Frank Stewart is the one leading the charge with this and kind of hosting the special. And they bring in some paranormal investigators that are nods to Ed and Lorraine Warren, Claire and Louis Berger. And so the whole special has that kind of cohesive driving plot. I would say this one doesn't quite have that through line as much. There is a connection between the two halves, because this is really like a daytime kind of talk show in the beginning, and then it's an evening segment, and they're technically 2 years apart in Out There Halloween Megatape. The first half of this film and the second half, there's a time jump. You don't necessarily need to know about that time jump to watch the film, but it is there. Without spoiling anything that happens in Out There Halloween Megatape. So I think the storyline, there's more of like a through line. If I'm going to like nitpick something like WNUF Halloween Special, there's a build to like this haunted investigation throughout the whole movie. It's teased at the beginning, you get the ads, and then it builds to that at the very end. This movie, you kind of don't know where it's going initially. You get teases of a show called Out There, and then the second half ends up being about Out There. And you get that investigation. But it, like, from beginning to end, there isn't like that subtle like build.
I actually feel like the first one, though, that story works a little bit better because it kind of draws you in. Like, it's the same reason why you watch TV and you would like see ads or some build up for a TV special, and it keeps you interested and keeps you coming back to see what's going to happen next. This one I didn't think hooked you in quite as well as the first one.
The first one had a lot of kind of to do with like Geraldo opening Al Capone's vault. And the hype around that. And so I thought it was fairly accurate this way. I do like how the through line kind of is that our talk show host, her career kind of sucks, and she ends up being on this other show.
Yeah,
that was funny.
Ivy Sparks, who's played by Kris LaMartina's wonderful wife, fantastic actress, Melissa LaMartina, who also produced this film. She's great in this role. Yeah. You can find her in WNUF Halloween Special. She's also the lead in What Happens Next Will Scare You. And
it's so just accurate, dude. Like, this is Ricky Lake meets Jenny Jones to a horrifying degree.
Yeah. So you get like this talk show that has a segment like a dude who believes he's a vampire and lives like a vampire and he's fully goth.
That was so
and the
funny.
guy that plays this character is the guy that's dressed like a vampire in the first movie that Frank Stewart interviews and asks if like
the funniest part of the first movie.
Yeah,
it's like the biggest laugh in the first movie.
And he like interviews him, and the guy's like, "This place is haunted."
Someone died in this house.
So like it was so accurate down to someone using the term death rock to describe something that is not death metal.
If you listen, so yeah, you see this guy who's a vampire and his band, because they're like showing different segments. You see Ivy like with like a lighter. You see the vampire,
and there's a whole video
band.
in the bonus features.
They're a real band. That's that guy's band. They put it like out in the little EP. That's for like backers. That's the other thing, the awesome thing that Kris LaMartina did for anyone that backed this movie. There were so many great like add-ons and kickers and things he did to build the lore around this movie. Yeah. There's a whole spoof of the Goosebumps series called Nail Biters, and he commissioned someone like a friend of his to write 2 of those books, and he gave those to backers.
Yeah, he wrote a whole catalog because this is supposed to be.
This guy has too much ambition.
What's the full name? Trader Tony's tape. Something
Trader Tony's tape dungeon. So that's the other thing he talks about in his commentary. The first movie has kind of what he described, I think, as like a spectral viewer. There's someone fast forwarding through commercials and things like that. So you're kind of watching someone else watching their tape. This is a mixtape from Trader Tony's tape dungeon, which is where this tape supposedly comes from.
So it's very. So there were a lot of places like this in the 80s that you would get movies from.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Something Weird Video, but Something Weird Video is too like high rent to be. No, like it's too high rent and too high budget to be Trader Tony.
Yeah.
But it's also really low rent, so that kind of shows you what I mean.
It's like something you would find in It Came from Eddie Brabec's basement.
Or like if you were to buy a horror magazine that wasn't Fangoria, you would get a lot of ads for these places. Mm-hmm. But you'd have to do like the really hardcore stuff that you couldn't find. Like these are the people that would sell you like Russ Meyer movies and all that stuff when it wasn't available on VHS. And this is where you would get like the uncut versions of fucked up Italian zombie movies, you know. And, a lot of their videos were of dubious legality, which is part of the storyline of how this tape came out. They even talk about it on the back of the DVD case that Trader Tony was shut down for bootlegging by the FBI.
Yeah. And there's a whole commentary with Trader Tony, which I've only listened to like a little bit of, but I'd like to check out the whole thing.
There's also a Purple Stuff podcast based on the commercials. Mm-hmm. And those guys are they're so good at faking these being real products that it's tremendous.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty I listened to a little bit of that, but I thought it was pretty funny.
I got to check that out.
It's like they're parodying themselves.
I'm not a huge fan of when people do like bits like that, like a sort of a fake commentary, but this one was pretty well done.
It was so like their real episodes that they nailed being a parody of themselves like in the perfect way. And I really appreciated that. Plus, I love those guys. They're the reason I'm podcasting right now. Favorite podcast ever. Check out the Halloween Countdown, dinosaurdracula.com.
I will say another thing I liked about the fact that this was segmented between like daytime program and evening program is the commercials kind of transition with that. When you get to like the evening broadcast, the commercials are a little edgier. They're a little more adult.
Less for fabric softener.
Yeah, whereas like the daytime ones, Kris LaMartina and his commentary talked about initially he was focusing on products and ads that are aimed at kids in the 90s. You know, you have energy drink commercials, Super Soaker commercials. You have stuffed animal like Stuffies commercials, things like that he filmed. There's so many fantastic things. You have some great pizza ads. You have Dr. Pizza, and then like the evening one is like a zombie pizza ad at Razzo's Pizza place.
Yeah, but I gotta say, Dr. Pizza. It's one of the earliest commercials you'll see too, and it's fucking amazing, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's probably my favorite one. Yeah, you can just tell that he just like studies these vintage commercials and gets them down to a T.
Yeah, I loved everything I saw.
And there's so many like I mentioned Phil's Carpet Warehouse, but he tells like stories that like evolve over the course of this movie with the commercials. So you see Phil's Carpet Warehouse, and he's your average local kind of. We have like Michael's Furniture Store commercials out here that remind me a lot of this
or
Phil's
like
Carpet
sit and
Warehouse.
sleep before they became big. Yeah.
Or Leeds, whatever. Doing his little fast pitch, and he has his little, slogan catchphrase. And then over the course of this, there's like a news report that pops up that says he's like been like indicted for like fraud or like embezzlement or something like that. And so he does another commercial later on where he's in like prison guard, jail guard.
It's tremendous.
And he's still doing his pitch. It's hilarious. So there's just so many wonderful touches like that. Another angle that Kris LaMartina talks about in his commentary, with this movie is that he wanted to focus on what it's like when a local TV station is purchased by like a network. Mm-hmm. And you see that WNUF is purchased by Ace, which he kind of alludes to kind of like Fox. And he also talked about like UPN was sort of and it's
something
influence.
I lived through multiple times because I was picking up what he was putting down with the Ace stuff because KTTV or Channel 11, we were one of the earliest Fox. Zach with his light up ass drink.
there's no reason to light that up, Zach.
Channel 11 here in California was one of the earliest Fox affiliates. So it was one of the earliest television stations I've seen switch over like that. Plus everywhere had UPN and WB take over. But
yeah,
Fox did it.
I don't even remember the era before local news stations were bought out. I just grew up thinking that everything was owned by Fox and TBS, and
yeah, it was a lot less cartoons on Channel 11 until when Fox took over. It made it a cooler station for kids. But yeah,
let's talk about some of our before we wrap up our thoughts here. Let's talk about like some of our favorite commercials. I don't want to spoil everything, but there's so many wonderful ones. We've touched on a couple of them, but like I feel like we should bring attention to some of these. I loved Harold's toilet paper with the ad with the mummy on the toilet, and he's reading a magazine called Better Tombs and Gardens.
That was a good one.
I'll never give mummies respect or love.
The fact that so many of them are also like Halloween themed was a really nice touch as well. I just was impressed by the cartoon at the beginning that kind of starts everything off. It's almost like you're watching the end of a Power Rangers type cartoon.
And he mentions that was supposed to be live action initially, and then the pandemic happened, and that got hard to do. And,
I do gotta say, as a stickler, animation style does not fit the time period or the technology that would have been used for it, but it is what it is.
He talks about that and how they got felt. Well, apparently, like he'd hired someone else initially who was a great animator, but it was even further away from like 90s style animation. So
it's hard to capture now.
Yeah, it is. I love the fake movie trailers we got through this. Obviously, everyone's talking about Bogies, which is like Gremlins on like a miniature like golf course, basically, or Ghoulies.
Yeah, it's like Caddyshack meets Ghoulies. It looked fucking great. Yeah.
I really like the Blood Gavel 3, The Final Verdict, featuring, I think it's Judge Grimm is the name of the villain.
Yeah.
So good.
Excellent slasher. I don't know. I found I loved the movie ones, but I just liked the ones that were eerily accurate, like the Super Soaker, like the Juice commercials, like the oh my God.
We got, there's one for Miak Chocolate, which is a nod to Ernest Scared Stupid.
Oh,
yes. Yeah. I noticed that. I was like, wait, Miak. Is that
like a troll?
Ernest Scared Stupid reference?
Yeah. Miak.
Okay. All right. So really quickly, I want to give my pitch for a part 3 to this.
Yeah.
Okay. So really quickly, since we went from the 80s to the 90s, and I was still recording stuff off of VHS in the early 2000s. I don't know how late you guys went into it, but I was still recording shit off of TV back in 2005. I think we need to jump to like circa 2001, 2002, and do this like a sort of like a haunted house reality show where they would do this thing on like Fox Family Channel, where they had all of these like scariest places on earth shows where they would just like strap a camera onto some people, not GoPros, like it's 2001, so they're a lot more hefty and awkward looking. Strap these awkward looking cameras onto a family and then just release them into a haunted house, and it's just like footage of them just running around and bumping into each other and screaming.
I know exactly what you're talking about, Kris. Those shows were everywhere, and I think this is a fantastic idea.
I'm with it. I I just looked up when I got a DVD player, and it was 2001. I was an early adopter, big time.
Oh, I definitely was too, but I was still there wasn't a way to record
now.
TV with the DVD really, and so I was still recording stuff on VHS.
Is there a way to somehow capture the shittiness of early DVD though? There's gotta be, and like a Mill Creek like shitty release, like 20 scariest blah blah blah. Those like 100 horror movie packs that you would
get. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say I did like that they in out there Halloween mega tape they kind of spoof like video game ads and stuff a bit too, and there's also a nod to a horror CD-ROM game that Reed Richmond was in. There's like a bit later on where you see this actor Reed Richmond kind of, and they intersplice segments of him giving like trivia out and mentioning movies he was in, like The Chiropractor Massacre, and he mentions a horror video like CD-ROM game that this is very picture perfect of like horror CD-ROM games of that era.
Someone who played a lot of them, yes. Yeah.
I'd say the only flaw in the movie is that the commercials are so accurate that I found myself just subconsciously pulling out my phone when the commercials would pop on.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was a real commercial, and I was okay to disengage for a second, and then be like, wait.
The horror theme park Six Flags basically ad. There's a Gag City commercial, which is a nod to Mr. Boogedy, of course. So there's so many wonderful touches there. I will agree with Kris that I think the final act, I really enjoyed it. It isn't quite as driving as the final act in WNUF as far as like Frank Stewart and going into this house and investigating with people. It's a little more stationary. You get kind of
how do you top Frank Stewart?
Yeah, there's a sequence where like they have a hidden cameraman going into this like Area 51 base basically. But like as far as, Ivy Sparks and Tate Dawson, the host of Out There, no one's like going into like a forest or like a crop, field or something, and which would have been like a cool addition maybe.
I felt like the payoff was a million times better in this movie though, and
the payoff was great.
Great.
The punchline was really funny.
Yeah,
you don't tremendous. See it coming.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so okay, you guys, we gotta give.
Yeah, I don't want to give anything else away. It's really something you just got to see. We've talked about so many different aspects of this.
So star ratings, my friends. I'm pretty sure I gave this a 5, but I am double checking myself just to make sure. And yeah, I gave it 5 stars, and I said be nice. How about you guys? Are you gonna be nice?
Kris?
I think I give it 4 out of 5. I definitely really like it. I can't wait to rewatch it this Halloween. I still think the first one holds a more special place in my heart. I think the first one also just has that like newness factor to it. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm just so psyched that someone thought to do this and that it exists. So maybe there's a little bit of that in there as well. But 4 out of 5 for me. It's really great. Check it out.
I gave it a 5 out of 5 as well, just from an entertainment perspective and just something that I just wanted to watch over and over again. 5 Miaks out of 5. These are just really fun movies. You should absolutely see both of them. WNUF is available on streaming services right now. I think it's still on Shudder. Let me double check that. It's on Amazon Prime. That might be through AMC Plus, so it's probably on Shudder. Yeah, it looks like it's on Sling TV.
Yeah, it's on Shudder.
Roku. Yeah. But if you want to get Out There Halloween Megatape, you need to go through Kris LaMartina's their website, which is, let me get the link for that. Edit. WNUF.bigcartel.com. You can order the DVD. It's $30. It's completely worth it. There's also a bundle with extras if you want, but absolutely go for the DVD. It's wonderful. So. Yeah, I cannot recommend this enough. These movies are just really just bring you into this time of year, and they're just so much fun, and it really does feel like stepping back in time and watching an old VHS, after school or at night that you've recorded, some of your favorite specials on. And Kris talked about how someone's reaction to WNUF Halloween Special was that it felt like a religious experience because they just had a VHS for it and they had to hook up their VCR and put it in. And Kris kind of reacted to that. He's like, yeah, man, I don't want to make movies. I want to make experiences. And I think that's what these movies feel like. They're experiences, and they're really great experiences. So I highly recommend, if you have any nostalgia for the 80s, for the 90s, check out WNUF Halloween Special. Check out the sequel, Out There Halloween Mega Tape. They're wonderful.
Oh, and I gotta say that Big Cartel site has a WNUF shirt that's up right now that is extremely rare, that you used to only be able to get from this obscure horror crate that I subscribe to. And it's the one with the VHS on the front. Yeah, I wish I had bit in time to get the Frank Stewart fan club shirt, though. They only had one available, and it was a small. I wouldn't have even been able to wear it.
All right, guys. I think this is like the longest review we've ever done for one movie.
The movie.
Well, we've done retrospective episodes. I guess that's not true. Maybe not. But this is up there, and it's well deserved. So, but we have another really great movie to talk about, don't we, Kris?
We do. Another surprise.
Yeah, this is basically a double feature scare episode today, but we're going to talk about Barbarian. This is directed by Zach Kreger. Zach is one of the...
Hold on. Conan the Barbarian is my favorite movie of all time. Is this related?
It is not related.
God damn it.
But it is still well worth your time. So this is directed by Zach Kreger, who was one of the members of Whitest Kids You Know, which was... I'm a huge fan of this comedy troupe.
Surprising.
Yeah, big rest in peace to Trevor Moore, who passed away tragically last year.
Why'd you have to remind me about that, Zach? I forgot about that.
Fantastic talent. Oh, God. Yeah, it was such a terrible thing. And but I highly recommend going on YouTube or wherever you can to find Whitest Kids You Know sketches. They're still just as hilarious as they were when they initially came out. I discovered them way after the fact. And so I'm really excited to see that Zach Kreger is stepping into a new direction and releasing just... one of the best horror debuts I've seen in a really long time. So, Kris, why don't you tell me your thoughts on Barbarian? What did you know going in?
This is just my favorite type of experience when it comes to just probably movies in general, because there was a trailer for this movie that came out. We saw it a couple times. The trailer tells you very, very little, and the trailer tells you just enough to maybe perk your interest. Even to the point where I was kind of it looks all right. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. But luckily, word of mouth starts to spread, and people are you have to go see this thing. And so you completely find out why.
I was one of those people.
You were definitely one of those people. You and two other people were hitting me up, telling me to go see this movie.
Was I first? I
don't remember.
Oh, shit. Okay.
I'm sorry. we'll do some science later and try to figure this out.
Okay. Sounds good.
But yeah, so it's just something you don't see anymore, because studios have to promote the shit out of their movies and tell an audience absolutely everything about it, just to try to get them into the theater. So to see a movie where you know very, very little and it keeps all of its cards really close to the chest is a rare thing. And this movie is... it's creepy, it's shocking, it's surprising, it's pretty funny.
Hilarious.
Yeah, it's really funny in parts. It's everything I could have wanted out of that experience. So seeing it with an audience was a fantastic experience. And I'm not saying anything about the plot. Maybe Zach, I'll let you set that up a little bit, because I'm gonna say too much.
Yeah, this is the tricky thing with reviewing this is a movie that's best seen knowing as little as humanly possible. If you can forget the title. Know as little as possible.
I'm sure a lot will too, because it's not a very strong title.
But it works. Casey hasn't seen this, so we obviously don't want to spoil it for him or any of you guys. So what I will say is, like Kris, this was one of my favorite theater-going experiences this year. This movie is just brimming with just wonderful, biting commentary, and it feels like the perfect horror movie for 2022. It's perfect, modern horror movie.
Yeah, definitely.
It it spins in tons of really kind of wild directions, but I think the coolest thing is it starts from just a really simple setup. And I will tell you the setup, because that's not really a spoiler. The setup is a young woman. She rents out an Airbnb, but she discovers that someone else has already rented that Airbnb, and they were double booked. And so they kind of end up bucking together in this Airbnb in the middle of this terrible neighborhood in Detroit. And then stuff happens. And that's all I'm going to tell you.
Yep.
But it's just already a fantastic setup.
Yeah, already a kind of a creepy setup. And yeah,
and there's I don't even want to tell you. I will say the girl is Georgina Campbell. And I'll tell you Bill Skarsgård's in it. I'm not going to tell you anyone else that is in it, but they're, I think, the main two that are advertised, and they are both fantastic. They have really great kind of chemistry together. Bill Skarsgård
secretly a Pennywise movie? Is that what you're telling me?
No, it is not. No, but Bill Skarsgård plays this really awkward, sort of endearing, sort of creepy dude. But
you're not really sure what's going on with him, and that's kind of the point.
Yeah, and he's just great. And Georgina Campbell is super likable, and you just kind of want her to get out of this situation, of course. And I really don't want to say anything else about this movie, but it is such a fun experience, and it is absolutely one of the best horror movies of 2022. It's definitely going to be way up there on my top 5. There's some good films this year, guys, but this is definitely one of the best and certainly most surprising. Is there anything else you want to say about this, Kris? I don't want to spoil anything. It's just you got to go in blind. It's
yeah. I don't even want to talk about who's in it because it was so much fun to at a certain point in the movie someone shows up and you're like, oh, okay, cool.
yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it definitely I'll say multiple times I was thinking here's where the movie could drop the ball. Here's where the movie could really, really not pull it through. And I'll say until the last frame of the movie, when you get to the last frame of the movie, you're like, they nailed it. They hit the landing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll also say I highly recommend seeing it in theaters if you can, just because I saw it with a really great audience. Try and find a late, weeknight showing or something like that. I saw it on a Thursday night, and I just had a super lively crowd. They were, reciting the Nicole Kidman AMC,
which I've yet to see.
Preview thing. You have not seen it? Oh, dude,
I don't go to AMC anymore. There's only one AMC, and I don't go there.
It's a religious experience now out here in LA. I
hate that commercial. Jesus
Everyone
Christ.
quotes it, dude. Everyone quotes it and laughs and cheers. It's like a Rocky Horror Picture Show out here.
I miss LA so much.
It's I didn't really like it initially either, but it's become just kind of like a meme at this point. And apparently they're filming a new one, which will be interesting.
There's a podcast I listen to where the people who host the podcast are regular visitors to the Burbank AMC, and they talk about that commercial all the time.
We had a drive-in movie thing at my office over the summer, and a couple people from my office, they filmed a parody of that around our office to air before the Galaxy Quest, which is what we were playing, and it was pretty great.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
So yeah.
Yeah, I had a great crowd except for the douchebags sitting right behind me who were at a certain point were don't go down there, bitch. And I kind of got the vibe. I personally, I relish when a movie is really great and I can tell that someone in the theater hated it. I love that feeling of being oh man, it must suck to be you.
Yeah.
I feel that a lot. I guess it shows what I see in the theaters. But I watched, instead of watching this because I couldn't get out because of freeway problems, I saw Morbius, so I'll give you the star rating for that when you guys give me the star rating for this.
Is it just the shit emoji?
Oh, I wish if that was available. I gave it 1/2 star. I'm not even going to joke about Morbius. Fuck that movie. Fuck everyone involved.
Well, Kris, what was your rating for Barbarian?
Except for Matt Smith. We forgive him because he's a doctor.
Unforgivable. Sorry.
Ooh. My rating for Barbarian was 4 out of 5. It's super awesome, super solid, super great. The only reason I think I gave it 4 out of 5 is just because I don't think it's not a movie for the ages. It's just a super, super solid, super awesome time at the theater.
And plus,
I would agree with that.
You wanted to match Zach's rating for Morbius.
No, I hate you, Casey.
We forgive you, Matt Smith.
I don't. You need to see how bad Matt Smith phoned it in this movie.
He needs a new agent, okay? He clearly needs a new.
He needs to learn how to say no.
All of his British projects are great. He was in The Crown. He's fantastic in that. But all of his American stuff is terrible.
Maybe he needed a new car.
Isn't he in the new Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones? He's in the new Game of Thrones show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
everyone's
two
just talking
things
about how terrible he looks.
Anyway, I gave Barbarian 4 stars as well.
Did you?
Yes, I did not
Just
give
Barbarian.
I did not give Morbius 4 stars. I have not seen Morbius. No plans to see Morbius. No desire to see Morbius.
Probably shouldn't see Morbius.
I'm tired of saying Morbius. But see Barbarian. It's great.
Lesbius.
And hats off to Zach Kreger. This is just wonderful. So, yeah. So, guys, you guys were talking about my lovely rainbow or my LED skull cup here.
So apparently, I was in exile due to a 5 freeway closure that ruined my life for 3 weeks. Zach went to Halloween Horror Nights or some shit. But I got to tell you what I did first, man. I watched a bunch of Amityville sequels, okay? And it bordered on self-torture for most of the time. But I got to say, though, if you haven't seen them on Shudder, Amityville 1992, It's About Time, the movie fucking rules. You got to see it. I mean, it doesn't rule like 4 or 5 stars. It rules like 3.5 stars. But those 3.5 stars...
Is this a sequel?
They're worth it.
Or is this what part is this?
Okay, so Amityville's public domain, so anyone can make an Amityville movie.
Right.
So, okay,
and everyone is making an Amityville movie.
Is this past? Is this past part 2, or is this past when they started numbering them? Stopped numbering them?
Yeah. So it's 5 technically.
Okay, so not the one with incest.
No, but there's incest. That a lot of them have it. Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing in the Amityville movies. It wasn't a thing in the first Amityville movie. I don't know where the fuck it came from, but it's back in this movie.
I actually saw part 2 at the New Beverly one time on glorious 35 millimeter.
Yeah, I watched 2 and 3 back to back like the same day. 2 and 3D, I should say. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to skip The Evil Escapes right now because it's a TV movie. And I'm going to go right to It's About Time. And I think I made a good choice.
Have you seen the documentary My Amityville Horror?
I have. It's great.
Yeah, I heard it's really good.
That used to be on Shudder. Yeah. If you want to I mean, you're more freaked out by the horribleness of human psyche. But yeah.
Definitely.
It's really good.
I
can't recommend that enough, but it's not on anything anymore, I don't think. It used to be streaming like everywhere. But Zach, you actually were able to leave your house for things other than just work. So how was your time?
Yeah, my brother and I went to Halloween Horror Nights on Sunday opening weekend. It was nice to kind of get a hunt out right away. It was cool to just kick off the season early because it goes by way too quickly. And I got to say, Halloween Horror Nights in Hollywood, one of the best lineups they've had in at least 5 years. This was fantastic.
Okay, so what's the lineup? We got Killer Clowns. What else?
Yeah, I didn't hit every maze. We did 5 mazes in the Terror Tram. We basically experienced all the scare zones, and so I'll get into that. So this year there are 8 mazes in the Terror Tram. The mazes there's a lot of original ones, which I was really happy to see. There's a Scarecrow maze. There's La Llorona, which is bringing back for the first time in 10 years, I think.
La Llorona.
There is a Universal Horror Hotel, which is where the Walking Dead attraction maze used to be, the year-round one, which is no longer there. There's the Killer Clowns from Outer Space maze. That's a repeat from a few years back, which I didn't get to do, so I was happy to see it come back. There's Horrors of Blumhouse, which is Freaky and the Black Phone. There's Halloween 1978. They're doing Halloween again, but this is based on the original film, which I guess they've never done a maze just solely based on the original movie. And then there's the Weekend maze.
Yeah, the Halloween one has always been a weird sequel, or like H2O or the Rob Zombie ones. It's never been the first one.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, they finally did 1978.
I would love to see a Halloween Horror Night H2O maze. That sounds
I don't think they did H2O, but that would be awesome.
If they did, they would have to make multiple Michael Myers with different masks throughout the maze.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, they'll do that anyway.
And you could get the scene at the end where he's wedged in between the car and a tree, and Laurie Strode is cutting his head off. That would be fantastic.
No, that was just an EMT, dog. That wasn't.
So yeah, so we went on 5 of the mazes. I missed Horrors of Blumhouse, which is the Freaky and Black Phone one. I missed the Halloween maze because that was one we decided to skip early on, just because they did Halloween last year. It's been done a lot recently, so if we're gonna skip one, let's just skip one that we've seen a bunch of times, even though it was a different version. And we missed the Weekend one, which is the one I wanted to do the most because it looked insane.
I've heard it's the best one.
It's supposed to be great. The problem is we went to the lower lot first, and on the lower lot are Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Okay.
Must
see.
The Universal Monsters maze. That's another one I forgot to mention here, which is the theme is Dracula and the Mummy and the werewolf are all in that maze. I think the story is basically the Wolfman has been told that there's like an amulet in Egypt or something that will cure him of his, lycanthropy, whatever, however you say it, lycanthropy ailments.
Dog disease.
And so he goes there, but apparently Dracula is the one that sent him, and he's after this amulet too because it'll give him some power or whatever.
Give me the amulet, you bitch.
Yeah, basically. So I really wanted to hit that, and Killer Clowns, the Universal Monster Maze, and the Weekend were all in the lower lot. If you go to Halloween Horror Nights, it's always best to go to the lower lot first, because if you don't, that's going to get really backed up, and then you're going to have to go, you have to go down tons of escalators, so it's always best to do that first. Unless you're a rebel and then do whatever you want. But that's generally the consensus.
Then you'll be in lines for your whole life.
Unless you have the express pass, then really do whatever the hell you want, which is I kind of wish we had. But it's just like $200 and I can't justify it.
If you work there, you definitely get some express passes. Just saying. I might know this from experience.
So we did Killer Clowns first because we missed that last time it happened. It was just it was like one of the lamest years we went because we only did like 4 mazes and there were like 8 of them or something that year. We just kind of we got there late and just mistimed everything. It was unfortunate, but so we did that first. That was a lot of fun. It was the worst wait of the night because we were in general admission, and so there's an express line, and we got pretty close to the front. We could see the house. It was like, I don't know, 20 feet in front of us. And then they decided to let like 200 express people in and no general admission people in. Like, I'm not even joking. They just stopped letting general admission in, and we could see the person like letting express people in, and they're obviously under a directive to let like express people in a certain amount. But it went from like 5 to 1 to like 200 to 1, and we're just sitting there like, what's going on? Like, we're at the front. Like, why aren't you letting us in?
It's a good way. That's a good way to get lynched as someone that used to have to do that as a job. Yeah.
I mean, it was. I like knew it wasn't her fault, and that was like it's an order they were under. But like, it was just it was very frustrating, and we were like, "Is this going to be like this the whole night? Should we upgrade to an express pass?" And we thought about it. Fortunately, eventually got through there. Killer Clowns was a lot of fun. The makeups and the costumes they used are exactly screen accurate and look just like the movie. It's really impressive.
Which doesn't happen a lot in Universal.
Yeah. It's not as grand as it could be. You don't get like a full-size Clownzilla. You just kind of get his head, which is okay. But a good maze. If you haven't seen the Killer Clown maze before, definitely check it out. They have the whole theme song, which is great. So I enjoyed that. And then we went to Universal Monsters, Legends Collide, and that moved a lot faster. And you're not going to like this, Casey, but the Mummy was by far the coolest monster in that maze. The makeup was incredible. I'm just telling you.
I'm fundamentally against this maze because it's like they're taking the Universal Monster mazes they've done in the past that have every monster, including Norman Bates, and deciding, let's just tone it down a little bit. Let's just have 3.
Yeah, well, they've done different things. Last year was the Brides of Frankenstein, which is a really great maze. This year, the Dracula thing is they used a mask for the Dracula scare actors, which it was a decent looking mask, but it's like Dracula, man. You want to see like just a cool makeup, you know?
Yeah, I gotta say, like the only park out here that does like actual makeup most of the time is Magic Mountain.
It'd probably be
makeups here.
It would probably be a bitch to find actors who look like Dracula enough consistently and get them all consistently working in that maze.
But Dracula's a face character in the park. They have walk around Draculas all the time. They got at least a couple.
There are some good makeups here, and they definitely do makeups at Scary Farm as well. But
they would probably need at least 15 for those mazes, though.
There's a great like mid werewolf transformation scene in this maze where some like an actor is like in mid transformation makeup. That looks great. There's also like a werewolf like mummy kind of hybrid towards the end. So this is a really fun maze. I really enjoyed it. So then we went upstairs because at this point, the weekend was like 90 minutes, and we were hungry, and we're like, okay, maybe we can do that later. But there was like one of the original mazes. I think it was Universal Horror Hotel, perhaps. That was like a 10-minute wait at that point. And we're like, okay, let's go do that. So we went up there. We did Universal Horror Hotel, which was a big surprise. This had a really fun kind of story, which is basically this, hotel mogul buys this hotel, and then lots of murders happen, and it turns out there's like a satanic cult behind it, and then he's like arrested and like electrocuted, but he says he'll be back, and he kind of comes back from beyond the grave, this hotel.
Nice. So you get a Universal Studios Florida style storyline for this one. This is
cool. Great. There's a fun like narrator, like while you're waiting in the queue line, telling the whole story. This was like a really good use of the space. You couldn't tell at all that was like the Walking Dead attraction, except for like the queue line. But like a lot of really great scenes. There's a really great like dead ghoul that comes out of a tub at the very beginning of the maze. I don't want to spoil everything. Just some great makeups and really good scares. It was one of the more spacious mazes. I really enjoyed that. Do not miss that one. That one's fantastic. So we got some chicken tenders. We went to what is the chicken tender place in Springfield?
Yeah, not Doc Brown's
chicken tenders.
Yeah, spooky chicken tenders. And then we hit up La Llorona, which is in one of my other favorite mazes. This is kind of
which that was like when we worked at fucking Universal, right? That's how long ago this has been.
It was like a year after I'd worked there, but yeah, the first one was in 2010, which is like 2 years.
Whoa.
Or no, it was like a year. It was a year like after I had left. I was only there for a couple months.
This is like a much loved maze that people have been crying about getting back for this whole time.
They did it again like 2 years after the first time, and it's been 10 years since then. This is a wonderful maze. It's really creepy, great scare actors, some fantastic props.
To do with the shitty fucking movie.
No. Tying in with that, I'll get into the scare zones briefly. There's a scare zone right as you get out of La Llorona that ties into La Llorona called El Pueblo del Terror, which is Latin America folk legends. So you have like wonderful like tableaus kind of displaying different legends. Then you have scare actors roaming around based off those legends like El Cucuy and Chupacabra, La Llorona. It was a really great scare zone, probably the strongest of the night. The other scare zones were Sideshow Slaughterhouse, which is just circus freaks. There was like, you
gotta get your clowns and shit in, right?
But they were cool. They were cool makeups. There was like a giant crow on a stilts and stuff like that, and really, really cool, like just kind of creepy, like creepypasta makeups and things like that. Some good stuff. And then there was clown saws, which is of course you got to have clowns with chainsaws. That's just kind of routine at any kind of haunt.
I wonder which one was Trevor. Yeah.
I did not see him this year. Shout out Trevor if you were there.
Yeah.
And shout out to my brother's friend, Matt, who was definitely in the Terror Tram, but he was not there while we were there tonight, but he is working it this year. The other cool thing is they had like scare experiences this year. So when you go to the bathroom at one of these events, that's usually a safe haven. But they decided to put a scare area right in front of one of the main bathrooms you use, which is by the animal actors area. There's like a haunted forest scene there. And there's tons of different areas there. And they hid like a bunch of bush people in this area.
Yeah, bush people are always great.
And they decided to just mess with people this year. And so, like, because that's an area where a lot of people will sit down and chill and be on their phones. And so these bush people are there and just scaring the shit out of people. So if you want to be entertained, just park yourself there and just watch. But you might get scared yourself, just saying. They're pretty good.
Well, if you're going to scare the shit out of someone, do it in front of the bathrooms.
Yeah. So that was a really fun addition. They also added...
The bush people always get... Always. I love those guys.
So I know Harry Potter is a sensitive topic, especially J.K. Rowling, and understandably. Yeah. But they did add Death Eaters to the Harry Potter area, and they're really cool.
Oh, wow, because for years they weren't allowed to even use the Harry Potter area.
Yeah, they closed it.
No, it's open. The ride is open. The whole area is open. They projected like the Death Eaters logo on the castle. It looks fantastic.
That's awesome.
And there's a whole there's like a little alley area in Hogsmeade that you can go down, and there's a few Death Eaters there that'll do like a little light show thing. But then they're also roaming around the area. They look great. They're really cool. So
you're making me so nostalgic for Universal Studios, man. Melody, I need to quit my job, and we need to move to LA, and I need to go work at Universal again. She said it sounds like a plan. We're headed that way.
Dude, I bet Melody would be a kick-ass scare actor, dude. She could totally have done like La Llorona or something.
Hell yeah.
God, I wanted to. When I heard my friend got the role for My Bloody Valentine, I'm like, I could have fucking done that. We were the same height.
So we went on the Terror Tram, and the Terror Tram this year is like Hollywood Harry, who's this like urban like clown legend they made up that roams the back lot. But it features Jordan Peele's Us and Nope, because they took the Jupiter's Claim set where they filmed it and they put it on the back lot, and you get to walk through Jupiter's Claim on this Terror Tram, and it is incredible. And then you have people from Us, like the Tethered, that are there roaming in this area as well, and you get the lights flickering and they start up and they look up. but just walking through the Jupiter's Claim set, and you see like the Star Lasso Express, and it's like lighting up and flickering. It's so cool. It was like one of the coolest things I've done at a Horror Nights event. So don't miss out on the Terror Dram. It's really, really great. Lots of really fun energy. Even if you're tired of it, you're going to enjoy it this year. And then to wrap things up, we also did the Scarecrow Maze, which is one of the original mazes. A lot of people have described it as kind of a combination of mazes that have been at Knott's before, which, having been to Knott's last year for the first time, it definitely kind of has that sort of feel, but really fantastic, like scenic. There's a really great facade. The scare actors are good. Definitely one of the strongest mazes. So wrapping up my experience, also go to the Day of the Dead Plaza area, and it's near La Llorona. I had a really good Calavera juice cocktail with rum and like cherry and like mango in it. I think it was really delicious. I got this awesome glow in the dark cup not LED cup, plastic cup, skull cup. Really fun, not cheap, but worth it.
He needs to protect his genitals somehow.
Yeah, that was Halloween Horror Nights. So I really enjoyed it this year. If you're in the SoCal area, if you're visiting, definitely check it out. I don't think you'll need Express. It's really expensive. Just try and go on like a Thursday or a Sunday if possible. If there's even a Wednesday open, check that out, because then you won't have to wait in line as long. But it wasn't too bad for us on a Sunday night on opening weekend. So, yeah.
Awesome, dude. Sounds fun. I was watching shitty Amityville sequels.
I actually thought about doing like a video about watching Amityville sequels, and then I looked up how many there were, and I had no idea. Like, I knew there were a lot.
But the thing is,
no idea. I had no idea, Casey.
Between HBO Max and Shudder, you can watch almost all of them.
Yeah, but do I have the willpower?
I'd say watch It's About Time and none of the others. 3 is incredibly boring. It's
not even the one with the T-Rex?
No. Unfortunately.
I do want to give a shout out to our buddy Steve Rosinski, who directed Carousel and Carousel 2, because I saw that he tweeted that he is making Amityville Christmas Vacation.
Yes.
Which is phenomenal. So I unless he was joking, which I really hope he wasn't. I'm pretty sure he is.
How has no one made Amityville Horror House yet? Is my question. Where is
them
this
time?
movie?
Give them time.
So shout out to Steve Rosinski. Follow him on Twitter. Support Carousel 2. Check it out.
Yes.
Okay, let's wrap this up, guys.
All right.
You can find us on Twitter at twitter.com/AMPHorror. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube under Another Miserable Podcast. Make sure to check out our website, anothermiserablepodcast.com. You can stream all of our episodes there. You can also find us on all your favorite streaming services. We're on pretty much all of them. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, all of them. Casey, where can they find you?
Find me at Lucha Gringo. Find me at Bob's Big Boy tomorrow morning. It already been happening by the time you heard this, though, so don't look for me. At Lucha Gringo on Letterboxd as well.
Kris, where can they find you?
Find me at Twitter at Kris Pistol and at Letterboxd and in Arkansas, where there's nothing fun to do except for probably some like local haunted houses around Halloween. Which
they're
are
probably
fun.
sick as
Oh,
fuck.
they're hardcore. They use real
Yeah.
chainsaws, and they will touch you with it.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to tell us about the haunt scene in Arkansas, Kris, this year, maybe on our Halloween special.
It's not Halloween until you've been circumcised by a chainsaw. It's on the shirts that we're printing.
And you can find me on Twitter as well, twitter.com/Earth2Zach, Earth, the number 2 Zach, Z-A-K, as well as Letterboxd and Instagram under the same handle. And he can also, we have a brand new Letterboxd that Kris was nice enough to create for us, an official Letterboxd for the podcast, which we've done like barely anything with last. Barely anything
lists
so far.
To come. I've been a little busy, but lists are to come.
We're going to put our like 12 Halloween movies you need to watch this year. We're going to put a list for that. But if you want to follow us on Letterboxd, look up A Miserable Pod, not another miserable, just A Miserable Pod.
Yeah, just like, or look us up individually like we just told you how to do, and you could see us talk about thousands of movies.
Yeah, but we did launch that, so definitely check it out, show us some support, and stay tuned, guys. Halloween is just getting started, so we have tons of awesome more content for you. 2 more episodes coming in October, including our Halloween special, so we'll figure out exactly what that's going to be soon. But it's going to be great. I'm really excited about our Halloween content this year, and I really hope you enjoyed our 12 Halloween movies to watch this year. And let us know if there's any Halloween movies that you like watching. Write us. Send us a message at anothermishaplepodcast@gmail.com or DM us on Twitter or Instagram, anywhere. Let us know what Halloween movies you like to watch, and maybe we'll share your responses in the next episode.
We may shame you publicly if you say Halloween.
All right, guys. Kris is stalking. We gotta go because Kris was been stalking like stuff at the Apple Store all night for the launch of the new iPhone, and he's like a zombie right now. So
everything hurts, and I'm dying. TM.
Yeah, and I'm old. I'm hurt, and I work with fucking children.
All right, take it easy, everybody, and be nice.
Be nice.